Call of the Void contains strong language and possible trigger warnings and is intended for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi, I'm Deacon.
Hi, I'm Jack.
And welcome to Call of the Void, a podcast about all things weird and macabre. We have been gone for a hot minute.
Oh my god, yeah. Don't call it a comeback. We've been here for years.
We had to take a little bit of a hiatus. We have returned.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, we hope that you enjoyed our Halloween episode. That was really fun to do, and
once I stopped getting like, I'm so bad at this, I'm such a hack.
Also, your story was very good.
Oh, you listened to it?
Yes.
Yay! Thank you.
Yes, we didn't. So whenever we recorded it, we recorded our audio separately to one another, and then just. So I didn't know anything about what Jack was doing, and Jack didn't know anything about what I was doing, and their first time listening to it was whenever they edited.
Yeah.
So
and it was real good. It was real good.
And then I had to listen back to it afterwards, and it took me a little bit because life was busy, but I finally listened to it.
There's a reason we were on hiatus for way longer than we intended.
Yeah. Not to get too far into it, but things were kind of rough and hectic and all over the place for everyone involved with this podcast. So
bold of you to say were.
I mean, that's fair.
Yeah.
We literally just had a conversation 2 seconds before we pressed record. But we're water under the bridge. It is okay. Everything will be fine. I am just waiting for the holidays to be over.
Yeah.
So that hopefully life can return to somewhat relative normalcy and 2019 can fucking die and rot in its grave.
Yes. Yes, it can.
Anyway.
Yes.
This has been a very bad year, but I will say that I am happy for this year because we actually got to do more of this podcast.
Yes.
And that was fun. It's been a good year of Call of the Void.
Mm-hmm.
But enough about that. We thought that we would go into kind of what we did during our hiatus.
Yeah.
And I think, Jack, you have something that you wanted to talk to me about that you saw?
Oh, the thing that keeps making me giggle.
Yes.
Like a child. Okay, so like I said to you last night, I'm on the fence on whether or not I want you to have seen this or not. I'm just gonna... this is from Vice News. I'm just gonna read you the headline. Thousands of penis fish washed up on a California beach. Quote, "It went on for 2 miles." End quote. This is so, like...
So I know what those are. They're those weird wormy fish things.
Dude. Dude. This is like... God.
I have not heard about that.
Okay.
Like I said, and I think I told you the other day, the last thing that I heard about that had anything to do with the news was like the ridiculous Papa John's thing, but that's about it.
Oh my god.
And it's literally just because like he turned himself into a meme, and that's it. But so yeah, I've been avoiding pretty much all news
Yeah.
So I hadn't heard that, but that's
yeah, it's one of those things that, like, the more you read, the more absurd this article gets. Like, I'm trying to find some really choice ones. So the guy that the article is about, first of all, the article was written by Matthew Galt, who I'm just gonna say, good on you, Mr. Galt, for writing this story. Like, bold strategy, Cotton. But yeah, so it's about this dude, David Ford. So if I say Ford, that's who I'm referring to. So, like, seeing such strange sights is one of the reasons Ford loves to walk the beach. Quote, those creatures are in a phylum all by themselves, with three other things, and have been on their own path of evolution for 400 or 500 million years, he said. Quote, it's a wonder of their fertility. There must have been hundreds of thousands of them. End quote. Why are we talking about their fertility? We know what they look like. Stop it. I send you
also phylum.
Phylum. I know. It's like, that's not what it means, but it's what it means.
Yeah.
Let me send you this thing, because they include a picture of like thousands of them dead on a beach, and it just looks like this, like, somebody had a dildo party on the beach and didn't bother to clean it up. Which, like, every time I see this picture, I cannot stop laughing.
Man, I didn't get invited to the dildo party. Darn.
I know, how rude. How fucking rude.
Oh god, ew.
Yeah,
what in the fuck?
You gotta go into the article for the really big picture of them just strewn out onto the beach. And of course, I will include a link to this article.
Ew.
Yeah, I know. But seriously, during the hiatus, I actually got into this true crime podcast called Small Town Murder. And Small Town Murder is real fucking good. Like, they're super, super good. One of their more recent episodes, one of the killers that they were profiling, for starters, it's a it's a little bit like this. Like, they talk about really fucked up things, but it's, at the end of the day, like a lighthearted comedy podcast. One of the killers that they profiled, when they were going through his house to find evidence, found that he had 107 dildos. Why? Like, they were like, we can't even fit that many on our wall in our studio.
Oh my god.
So yeah, so I needed to share that with you, and you very much need to look at the bigger picture of them just strewn about on the beach.
Yeah, it's awful. It's very disgusting.
It looks like the world's worst orgy.
But definitely look at it.
Yeah. Like, I have a real big aversion to fish, and I was able to look at this because it was making me laugh more than it was making me
they
gag.
look like very large peni, so
peni.
I mean, I'm unsure. Well, I mean, I am sure, but like, you know, I like, one of my favorite things is like saying the wrong plural of things.
Yes.
As dumb as that sound.
Oh no.
So
I do kind of the same thing. Like, I'll like make up like a really like dumb way of saying a thing. Like, I'm trying to think of a really good one. I can't, but like, it'll be like like if like I like something hit my leg, I'll be like, I was injured in the legular area. Like, I do shit like that all the time.
I also like to add like ed to the end of like words in a phrase of words. So like oranged juice. That juice has been oranged.
Okay.
Or.
I mean, odd choice of words to say you add ed when we were just talking about dickfish.
I know, I thought about that literally as I was saying it, but also like iced cream. The cream has been iced.
Yes.
So I do that for a lot of things, and everybody's like, please stop.
No, don't do this. Why?
But oh my god. A dildo party. Fuck. Okay.
How's it going, dudes?
So for me during the hiatus, I did a combination of.
You make it sound like I was like that. This took up my entire hiatus.
It did.
And I was just like, like looking at.
It did. That was 100%. Your whole hiatus was just this article.
Yes, it did. Oh god.
But no, I want to tell you about my thing.
Yes,
I'm
tell
super
me about
excited.
The thing. I'm excited for you. I just wanted to inform everybody playing at home that this was absolutely not my entire hiatus.
It super was though. Anyway,
no.
You just had like this hyper fixation on this article.
Yes, this article that was like just posted like
yep
yesterday or like the day before.
You can see the future. Anyway,
don't call me out like that.
So my hiatus was essentially the first little part of it was me going absolutely insane trying to catch shiny Pokemon.
Yes. I'm proud of you for streaming again.
Yeah, I finally started doing that again. Which, I mean, funnily enough, I had to take a break this past week because of stuff, but you know.
Twitch.tv/Deacon Frostgrave.
No, don't do that. No one should watch
that.
me. I'm awful.
Everyone should watch him.
But so whatever, I had to take a bit from the shiny hunting thing because I was going crazy trying to catch the stupid fucking purple pumpkin that I've encountered over 3,000 times and I still can't get a shiny of, and I had to step away from the game.
Have you ever seen the original Clerks?
No.
Damn it. So there's this guy in the convenience store in the first one that they talk about because he's sitting on the floor and he has all of the cartons of eggs out of the fridge around him and he is carefully inspecting each egg, and like one of the customers explains to them that what he's doing is trying to find the perfect dozen. And then when he can't do it, inevitably, he freaks out and smashes one of the eggs against the glass door of the refrigerator. And that is kind of how I'm picturing you with Pumpkaboo right now.
It is. That's like literally exactly what happened. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. So anyway, I had to take a break from shiny hunting and Pokemon, and I found this game. A friend of mine had recommended to me, and I was like, okay, you know, I've heard about it before. I don't know much about it, but sure, I'll play a little bit of it, and it is incredibly good. So it doesn't seem like much on the surface. So it's a game called The Blackout Club, and to tell you what the game is, it is essentially a stealth horror game. that like the base story of is that like there's this town called Red Acre in Virginia. It's a fictional town, but the game takes place in Virginia, and it's in the National Radio Dead Zone, which is a real thing.
Really?
Yes. So there's no Wi-Fi, there's no cell signal, there's no nothing that goes into this area. That's a real thing in the real world.
That's wow.
But there's not like a town that's there. But in this game, the town of Red Acre is in the National Radio Dead Zone. So what happens in this town essentially stays in the town because there's no means of communication outside. Okay. And people in this town keep finding themselves waking up in the morning in the woods, covered in mud or on railroad tracks or whatever, just randomly in different places than where they went to bed. And essentially, there is a network of tunnels underneath the town that house this massive instrument that plays a song through the night. You can actually go down to the maze, as it's called, and you can see people strumming on strings and stuff and playing this music. But all of the people of the town are like, well, a majority of them are sleepwalking, so they can't see you, but they can hear you. And so if you make noise, they'll be attracted to your location. So you've got to sneak around and be quiet.
Did you ever play Indigo Prophecy?
No.
There's this Indigo Prophecy is a really neat game. My brother and I never got to finish it because there was something wrong with my copy of it and it wouldn't go past a certain point. But you play as 3 separate people. You play as the killer who was possessed when he did the crime. So, like, it's not actually his fault. So you play as the killer, and you play as each of the 2 cops that are partners that are trying to solve the murder. And there's this really fucking creepy part where, like, it's a guy and a girl cop, and I don't remember her name, and I feel bad now. But she, this was a long ass time ago. So, like, yeah. So at one point she's in, I think she goes to, she somehow finds herself in a prison. I think she went there to investigate or to interrogate somebody, like another prisoner that might have some insight into what's been going on or whatever. But like when she's there, the power completely shuts off to the prison, and you have to navigate through this dark hallway, and there's like a way to like lessen your breathing, and you have to be ever so slight, otherwise you're going to get grabbed by one of the inmates. And it's genuinely terrifying. And, like... Yeah. It, like, my brother played through that part, and I was stressed just watching him.
Yeah, like, this is... Like, you're sneaking around, you're playing as a kid, and, like, there are 2 types of, like, adults that are in the town. There's the sleepers, which can't see. Mm-hmm. They're usually wearing some sort of headdress, like something covering their face, like a veil or a face mask or something. Mm-hmm. But they can hear you. And then there are lucids, which are, you get like upgraded to being a lucid after you've like served the song and the voice for so long, and we'll get into that in a minute. But they're fully awake and making a conscious choice to do this shit. And they can see. And they have flashlights, and so you're supposed to hide in shadows and stuff. And it's really cool. It's really fun, and you have like certain objectives that you have to complete for the Blackout Club. Because you play as a bunch of kids that have gained lucidity in the night, and are like, hey, I need to document all this shit so that I can like maybe escape the town and post this somewhere and be like, this is what's going on in Red Acre. Like, this is all fucked up.
That's so cool.
Because you can't post anything, like you can't send anything out into the world, so you're trying to escape the town with this information. But there's also this like sonic barrier around certain parts of the town, so you can't go past it. If you go past it, you essentially like pass out or whatever. It's like this really loud, like blaring sound. It sucks. Mm-hmm. But like nobody can really like leave the town. So that's just the like base like story that's going on. But that's not everything. So I mentioned serving the voice and the song of earlier. There are a series of gods or voices in the game. We know of, there are 8 active ones currently. And one of them is called Speak as One, which is the one that is basically controlling the town that's going on with this whole instrument shit. Their whole thing is like unity, and they're trying to they're like the most malicious entity in this town. They're the one that they're like unity and order at the cost of one's freedom. So they like everything and everyone in this town that is being controlled to be like a sleeper or a lucid is because of Speak as One.
Okay.
And the sleepers and lucids and stuff are serving Speak as One. They're like disciples or whatever of this god. He also controls the Shape, which is this formless, well, not really formless, I guess, because it kind of looks like a person. But you can only see it if you close your eyes. So there's an eye closing mechanic in the game.
Okay.
And so you can close your eyes and you can see like footprints on the ground, and that'll like guide you to your like nearest objective and stuff like that.
What systems, consoles, whatever is this for?
PC, PS4, and Xbox One.
Oh, all right. So almost the entire gamut. All right.
Yeah. But so the Shape is a thing that like if you've committed enough sin, which is just breaking the rules essentially,
okay, then
Speak as One will send the Shape after you.
So it's not like it's just breaking the rules. Like it's not like like in Fallout where there's like a karma thing.
No,
like
so it's
like
one of those like if you kick down doors to get inside instead of using a lockpick. If you make too much noise, if you get noticed too many times, if you throw noisemakers and flashbangs and things like that too many times, like there are items and things you can use in the game to like get away, and if you use them too often, or if you use your hero power too many times, like those like add up, and eventually the Shape will come after you. And when the Shape comes out, it goes after the person who has committed the most sin. So
can you play this solo player, or do you?
You can.
Oh, really? There's a solo mode.
So you can just set up a lobby in friends invite only.
Oh, okay.
Which is and so you can just play it by yourself. But you can also play it with other people, with up to 4 people.
Up to
But
4?
yes, up to 4.
Okay.
So Speak as One is the one who is kind of controlling everything that's going on in the town, right? There's also so I'm going to go through what the other gods are, the other voices. There is Die For You, who is, he represents selflessness and sacrifice. In Her Teeth is, essentially like accepting your death kind of thing.
Okay.
Laugh Last is humor, jokes. It's his whole thing. Seed the Grudge is revenge. The I Dare is rebellion and risk taking. The Measure Cuts is knowledge, realism. And then you have Dance For Us, who was dancing and music and fun and like parties, that kind of thing. She was like really upbeat. And I say was because she recently got in the game.
All right.
So
Like narratively.
Okay. She was killed by another one of the gods.
Ooh. How is that not a no-no?
It is. So one of the other gods tricked her into essentially showing everyone in the town, or all the kids in the town, like different gestures and dances, which essentially spelled out his name somehow, and gave him power enough that he could devour her. So
is this
he
like a power grab?
Yeah, so he now has all of her hosts, all of her followers, all of that are now following him.
Okay.
Because the thing about the voices is that like they're in your head and they can like possess your body at any time. So there are once you get older, you can become a host to these voices and they'll possess your body and like do stuff on their behalf or whatever. And so he devoured Dance For Us and now he took over all of her hosts and stuff.
Okay.
And now that she has died, all of the other voices have forgotten who she is. They can't remember her. They know that there's a void in their memory, but they don't know her. They can't hear her name. So if you try to say like Dance For Us, they only hear static. They can't hear you saying their name. They can't like, you can kind of like give nicknames and stuff, but they can't remember it. Now here comes the cool bit about this game. You ready?
Okay. Wait, you haven't told me the cool bit?
I haven't told you the cool bit about this game yet.
All right, lay it on me.
Any of the interactions and things like that we get with the gods and with the voices is live.
Wait, what?
There is a system in the game called the Enhanced Horror System, which you can turn on, which essentially means that the game can listen to you. Which if you play the game, I very highly recommend that you do because it is incredibly cool. So the game doesn't like collect any information or whatever, but the game can always hear you while you're playing it. Even if you have your mic muted or if you have push to talk on, the game can still hear you. And push to talk and things like that will work normally for other players that are playing, but the game can still hear you. So essentially what this means is that
you're about to have a bad time.
You can be playing the game and completing objectives and doing whatever, even if you're on your own, even if you're solo, even if you have nobody else playing with you, even if you're playing in friends only, invite only, right? And randomly, the voices can just be like, hey, I want to talk to this person today, and pop in your game and start talking to you live. They can address you by name. like looking at your Steam name or whatever, and be like, "Hey, what's going on?"
Wait, are they? Is this voice acted?
Yes.
How the fuck did they do that?
So they have live voice actors, which they don't really want to disclose who the voice actors are or anything else like that. But there are voice actors in this game who join your game live and talk to you. And it's live roleplay with real people on the other end. Telling the story.
That is so fucking cool.
Yeah, it is incredibly cool. I had my first interaction last night with In Her Teeth. She popped into a game to talk to one of the other players that I was playing with.
This is one of the gods?
Yes.
Okay.
So she popped in to talk with them, and so a cool thing about the game, an aside really quick, is because there's not like a whole lot going on with like the gameplay, it's just missions and objectives that you have to complete. Mm-hmm. A lot of people take the time to like create a character, because we're not like, I mean, the game itself has no like inbuilt story other than that. Like, if you take away the enhanced horror system and like the ritual system and all that stuff, if you take all of that away, then the story of the game is what I told you to begin with.
Yeah.
If you add in like all the interaction with the gods and all of that stuff, then you get this other narrative that is happening live, and it is a live like experience game.
That's
so cool. A lot of kids or a lot of people will make kids in the game to like, or like a character to roleplay as. My character's name is Wick. His name is Warwick Bailey, but he goes by Wick. Mm-hmm. And you can either post this information to like the Discord, or you can, like I did, you can send it to Question, which is the people who made the game, directly, and they can like use that later on if they have any interactions with you.
That's really cool.
Because they read it. I know this because my Steam name is Deacon Frostgrave.
Yes.
Right? And In Her Teeth popped in and was talking to some of the other people in the lobby, and then is like, "And you, Wick?" And I was like, wait a minute. So, like, they read everything. They keep track of everything, and it's a small little development team. But they have like impressive. But they have some like, they have a really cool like, they do have some really cool voice actors working for them. And the enhanced horror team as a whole is very, very, very wonderful. But yeah, In Her Teeth popped in for the first time. It was the first experience I've ever had with the gods popping in. And let me tell you, I was shaking the entire time. Like,
are they really like scary looking?
Well, that you can't see them. It's just a voice.
Oh.
So it's just a voice talking to you. Because up until this point with my kid, all these other kids that he's been like helping out with the Blackout Club have been talking about like talking to these voices or whatever that like pop up in their head sometimes or whatever. And he's just thought they're insane. Like, he's like, all y'all are crazy, because he originally was from Chicago and moved to Red Acre because of his dad. So he is just like, y'all are insane. Like, I don't know what y'all are fucking talking about. There are no such things as these voices that you're talking about. They're not real. And then as of last night, now he has had an experience where like, cause In Her Teeth turned to like Wick and was like, "And do you have any questions for me?" Because for me, I'm a new player, and they like to like, I've only been playing for like a week and a half, right? Yeah. So they like to like have interactions with newer players and be like, "Hey, you know, this is, you know," try and including new player, because new players are the lifeblood of this game. Yeah. So they try and include new players and stuff, and for Wick, it was like, I'm unsure. Up until this point, you didn't exist.
Yeah.
Like, and she was just like, oh, I assure you, I am very real. And Wick
No,
was
thank
just like,
you.
oh, fuck. Oh, shit. But, yeah, like, in character, like, Wick essentially, like, had a life-shattering, like, revelation, and has essentially had a mental breakdown last night after he went to bed and was like, oh shit, like rocking back and forth in the corner of the boxcar.
I do not want.
But now he knows that like these voices that people have been talking about are very real, and he has sent out these things called lights of rebellion, which are little lighters, but they represent a belief, right?
Okay.
So you can send those out and sacrifice them to send a 30-second message to a god or a voice. And so the game records 30 seconds of you talking to them, and they can respond to you by either they can like send you a sleeping bag in the form of a dream, so you could sleep in the sleeping bag, and then like you know, you'll have a dream, air quotes, and it'll be the response to your question or whatever. Or they can decide that they want to talk to you in person and pop into your game. So a cool thing about this game is that it focuses on, so the idea behind the whole enhanced horror thing is that the lore of the game is told through word of mouth.
Okay.
It's based on this idea that kids are gonna gossip, and that if you post things online, it's gonna spread.
How old are the player characters? Like when you say kids, are you talking like teenagers?
They're like
or younger.
They're like teens, like 14, 15.
Okay.
Like somewhere in that range. Wick is 14.
Okay.
So because none of the kids are of hosting age, and hosting age is somewhere in theory between 17 and 18.
Okay.
And that's when you become like able to be a host to the voices, and they can like enter your body. And that's why a lot of the adults in the town are unwillingly hosts of Speak as One.
Yeah. I keep thinking about for those of you playing at home, Deacon ran this one shot a while ago that was fantastic. But like each of the characters that we all, like all of us players played, were like had to be within a certain age range, because like it was very Stranger Things like, so
Yeah.
like it took place in a school, so we had to all be students, and my character was this boy, Spencer, who is my child, and I love him. And like I would love to get to play as him again, because like unfortunately that got cut too short. But yeah,
I had other plans for other like bits for that story to continue.
Yeah, that inevitably turned into Stranger Things season 3, which I still haven't
Oh my
seen.
fucking god, dude! It was okay. We're not gonna get into that.
No,
But that
just know that Deacon kept, when season 3 dropped. Again, I still haven't seen it, but when season 3 dropped, Deacon kept sending me like texts in all caps, like, they even did this, and oh my god, this is called that. And it was honestly pretty fucking eerie how close it was to a lot of what we had already done, and a lot of what he wanted to do in the game.
like a lot of the shit that I had planned like happened in Stranger Things season 3, and I was like, oh fuck.
Yeah. But yeah,
so I inadvertently wrote season 3 of Stranger Things.
You're welcome.
I mean, it was in my head, but apparently the Duffer Brothers were just like, you know, we need that information.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they have superpowers, and that's how they wrote the show.
Yeah, that's possible.
Maybe
But
they've seen this other world. But yeah, I keep thinking of Spencer, and I keep thinking if I played this game, I would play as Spencer.
I mean, but yeah, so it's incredibly cool, and like I said, you're literally like live role playing with these voices, and it's so cool, dude. Like, Wick sent out Lights of Rebellion for the a character that the I Dare, because Rebellion, he's like kind of an angry, like teenage, like chaotic kid, and so he sent one out to speak as, or not speak as one, to the I Dare, which is the enemy of Speak as One, by the way.
Okay.
Because he represents like individual choice.
I'm getting kind of My Hero Academia vibes here a little bit.
Yes. But so the I Dare is like individual choice, while Speak as One is unity at the cost of your freedom. So they're opposing sides. So he sent one to the I Dare because of rebellion, and he also sent one to the Hunter, which is the 8th voice that we don't know who it is. But Hunter is the god that killed Dance for us.
Okay.
And
All right,
he
so we
has
don't know
like
his real name.
we don't know his name.
Okay.
He's kept it a secret from us, but he is like this like pursuit of strength, because he's always talking about like, prove to me how strong you are. And whenever you pray to me, like, tell me that you're strong and tell me how you're strong. And I want only the strongest, that kind of thing.
I wonder if, and if you know the answer, I guess, like, that's cool. But, like, I wonder if, like, your character can work with the gods. Like, if you wanted to be, like, a raging douche. And just be like, no, fuck all of you. I'm gonna be evil.
I mean, you can. Being against all of the gods is a viable option. Like, being anti any of the voices is also an option in the game. But you can also devote yourself to one in particular. A lot of people devote themselves to Die for You or in Her Teeth. A lot of people devoted themselves to Dance for Us, and now that she's dead, are kind of lost. And there are people who follow Hunter who are like, I mean, people really don't like them because he killed a god.
I mean, also, that said, unless you're playing with a group that's totally down to do that, please don't do that. That's a real dick move, and it makes the game not fun for anybody, and that's true for any game where you're playing with other people.
Yeah. But yeah, there is The I Dare was, so if you want to know a kind of like brief synopsis of things that have gone on, The I Dare was sold out by Laugh Last to Speak as One, and Speak as One shattered The I Dare into a bunch of different pieces. But his, he has these things called name fragments in the game, which are, because there's a thing called the Old Tongue, which is movements, it's gestures, which is how, Hunter tricked Dance for Us into, because all of her dances were parts of his name in the Old Tongue. So The I Dare has like bits of Old Tongue like spread around the map in differing places, and he wants people to help find him, and he is slowly growing back in strength. He has teamed up with Die for You to oppose Speak as One and the Hunter, who Hunter is his own like person entirely. He's his own antagonist in and of himself, and then there's also Speak as One. So
Hunter,
and they're trying to gain an alliance.
Okay, so Hunter basically set up Horcruxes.
Well, the Idare did.
Oh, the Idare did.
The Idare essentially has Horcruxes across the map, yes.
Oh, okay.
But Hunter, like I said, Hunter tricked Dance for us into spreading his name around town so that he gained in power. But yeah, Die For You and the Idare are in an alliance with one another, and they're trying to get the other voices to join their alliance in opposition to Speak as One and in opposition to Hunter. Laugh Last and In Her Teeth used to be married, so they're at odds with one another. Seed the Grudge and In Her Teeth hate one another because they were they're essentially parts of the same whole. Seed the Grudge split off of In Her Teeth.
Okay.
So they're kind of at odds with one another and hate one another. Laugh Last hates the Idare. Apparently the Idare slighted him in some way in the past, and now they hate one another. So each of the gods or the voices, they oppose one another in certain ways. But yeah, some of them are friends with one another, and they're kind of being look, the Measure Cuts worked with Speak as One to build this instrument because he sees Redacre as an experiment, because he's the pursuit of knowledge, and he's like, I don't fucking care. I'll work with whoever as long as it's, forwarding my own goals.
Yeah.
But we're trying to get or a lot of people are trying to get the Idare and the Measure Cuts and everyone to join an alliance against Speak as One, because otherwise people are afraid that Hunter is going to target one of them to kill next, because Hunter is slowly gathering strength and gathering followers and becoming stronger and stronger and stronger. So okay. That's a problem.
All right.
But for me, Wick prayed to both the Idare and Hunter and was essentially you know what? I don't believe in either of you, but whichever one of you, I don't know if you exist, whatever. All these kids keep talking about these voices and I don't believe in it, but if you are out there, whichever one of you gets to me first can have me. And because he's intrigued by the Idare's rebellion, but also Hunter's pursuit of strength.
Yeah.
And so he's issued this challenge to both of the voices, and now that he knows that they're real,
yeah,
it's oh fuck, I'm regretting all of my decisions.
Oh shit, no.
So that's what's, each of us has our own personal story that's going on because we're creating our own characters and stuff.
Yeah.
But also there's this overarching narrative that is happening with everyone involved. So it's really cool. It is an incredibly intriguing game, and I have spent way too many hours playing this game now, and that's what I've been streaming a lot of, and it's really well suited for streaming because
now that you've told me about it, because I dropped into your stream the other night and you had told me that you might tell me about this game. So I dropped in, I'm like, hey buddy, what are you playing? Oh, you're playing that, I can't watch it. I'll listen to you, but I can't watch it. So
yeah, so the objectives and stuff that I was doing in the game were cool, but I was streaming because there was a god out, and if I had an interaction, it's easy. It's a lot easier to be streaming the interaction and just go back later and clip it.
Yeah.
Than it is to because I also, every time I play the game, I keep open OBS even if I'm not streaming, so that if a god pops in, I can just press record and record the video. But again, the thing about this game is that information is spread through word of mouth, and the thought process there is that kids gossip. Yeah. Kids talk about shit that happens to them. Even if it's on the internet or whatever, we spread that information very quickly. And so that's what the whole enhanced horror thing is about, is we have these interactions with these gods and we get this information, and then we can spread it to the other people in the Blackout Club And then now they have that information. And some people, I mean, there have been players in the past who have lied about encounters, who have said, I've had this encounter, I found out this information, and have completely fabricated shit. But the enhanced horror team is always on it to squash out incorrect information. So they will be like, no, that's not right, and will fix the narrative. You know, so they will go back in and they will correct you and be like, no, whoever told you this information, that's not correct. This is actually correct instead, you know, that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, so like the whole streaming thing and recording everything. So there's a whole like interaction archive on the Discord where people record video and put them up and are like, hey, you know, this is what's going on. This is what happened. This is the encounter I had. You know, they said this is the new information that we gained from this encounter, that kind of thing.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
But yeah, it's so cool. It's a really great concept. And in the time that I've been playing this game, like, I am incredibly thankful for, I just want to put it out there. Like, I know that they're probably not listening to this, but on the off chance that like Null or anybody at Question or the enhanced horror team or anything else like that, like, thank you so much for what you do in this game. Because legitimately last night going to bed, I happy cried myself to sleep. Because the interaction that I had was so good, even if Wick is a complete and total fucking idiot, right? Like, he straight up told one of the gods that, like, up until this moment I didn't think you were real, and then couldn't think of an actual question to ask whenever she asked if he had a question. Like, he's a big dumbass for sure, but like,
okay, penis fish, what are up with those?
That's
but
what you
he like
God.
but like he was like, you know, afterwards I was so excited because like In Her Teeth was so nice. and I was like, it was just so cool to have this interaction. And like, I literally, like, after we ended the stream, because I was with somebody else who was streaming, like, after we ended, I sat down on my bed and I processed, and I was just sitting there crying, and I was just so happy. And I was like, I sent in information to Question so that they would know information about Wick, but they took the time to read it. Like, they had to have. That's the only way, because I tried to change my Steam name to Wick, and it didn't go through the first time. And I noticed it while we were talking to In Her Teeth, that my name still said Deacon, and I was fully anticipating for her to call me Deacon.
That's really
But she called me Wick. And I was like, wait, so they took the time to read my document that I sent so that they would know that my name is Wick in the game, like in character. And that in and of itself, that they took the time to read my individual shit and incorporate me as part of this universe, like, as Wick, and not calling me Deacon or whatever. Like, I was so ecstatic. And I melted. Like, I was like, I can't.
That's rad as fuck, dude.
I was so happy and so thankful. So I'm just, thank you so much to Null and Question and the enhanced horror team. You're all wonderful, and you definitely all deserve to have a wonderful holiday. I want to say this because fucking Null is a workaholic and he won't take a break. But yeah, like, it's incredible, and it's really nice that, like, they take the time to, like, make an individual story for each
Well,
for each person.
if I ever meet a god, I know what I'm asking it.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, I mean, I've been playing with a couple friends and stuff, and they keep inviting me in, and
cool.
the community itself is very welcoming and very kind. And I was incredibly nervous starting out and anxious and was very worried that I was going to do something wrong or that people wouldn't want to play with me. So I just played solo for a really long time until I started talking about playing solo in the Discord, and people were like, no, stop. And actively started making an effort to include me if they saw me online and things like that.
So nice.
Yeah, like everyone involved is very kind, and they've all got their own stories and stuff. Like one of the people I'm playing with last night is a follower of Die For You, and is her air quotes two dads are Die For You and The I Dare, or The I Dad, who a lot of people call him. But it's Dad For You and The I Dad. But now, like, her character arc is a situation like, hey, I want actual parents, so I might possibly switch to speak as one. And that whole, like, dynamic that's going on, my dumbass child being a complete idiot boy, like, we've all got our individual stories that are happening at the same time.
She could literally just do that as
yes.
as a backstory, like, oh, these two gods are my parents.
Well, no, they're not like
they're
not her
surrogates.
real dads, but
Yeah.
So none of these kids are really claiming their parents as their own parents because they're following this fucking god. Like, all the kids are like, I want parents who are fucking decent. And so, by extension, these gods and voices sort of become surrogates.
Yeah.
So, a lot of the kids will refer to the voice that they follow as their mom or their dad.
That's so fucking sad.
Yeah. Because, yeah, like, with Wick's whole thing, like, you know, his dad moved to Red Acre after his mom died, and so this is sort of I mean, yes, it is sort of I realized afterwards that this is essentially fucking Beetlejuice. But his dad moved on very quickly, and started dating someone, and he's extremely irritated at his dad for moving on. And he's like, no, I don't want you to move on, especially considering the fact that you're dating a fucking Lucid. So, and I mean, his dad's girlfriend has not, like, caught on that he's sneaking out and being a part of the Blackout Club yet. But she's definitely a Lucid, so she's awake and knows that, like, she's doing this voluntarily. So it's a situation where he's like, I hate this. And I want my dad to not be a fucking piece of shit. And that's why he's so angry and irritated. And except
Lydia is very smart.
Yes, Lydia's very smart, and she's not necessarily focused on just anger as she is, like, I mean, she's more depressed than anything.
I was about to say, like, when I was a kid, Lydia was one of my heroes, and then I was like, there's a lot more to that psychologically than I think I'm prepared to to really explore at this point in time.
But yeah, like, so if Wick ever does manage to become a follower of any of these voices, especially the two that, like, he actually wants to, like, me out of character, I've been referring to them as my potential dads. But it'll essentially be his new dad. Like, So a lot of these kids are like seeking some sort of validation or whatever through these voices, and wants them to be like, hey, can you be my parents, please?
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's a very good game, and I very, very highly recommend it. I know that it is on Luke's wish list, which I need to talk to him about this game, because it's one of those things that, like, I don't think he realizes this game is so deep.
Yeah. I mean, that's another thing. If you are on the Fierce Ferrets Discord server right now, and you are level 10 or higher, or if you're a subscriber, we're doing the Fierce Ferret Friend Miss right now, so yay. So,
yeah.
Luke hasn't posted a wish list, but yeah.
I mean, we're friends with him on Steam, though.
Exactly.
So, but yeah, that's one of the things that's on his wish list, and I have been tempted to buy it for him, but also at the same time, if I buy this game for him, like, I need him to know that there is the possibility that someone could hop in the game and talk with him live. And it's not just a developer screwing with him or whatever. Like, it's a story thing of the game.
He will start being like, oh, that's funny, ha ha ha, and then
like,
off of God.
it's a story element of the game. If he turns on enhanced horror and that's a thing that he has in the background, like, he needs to know that this is a story thing that is happening, and he can talk with these voices, and they're essentially gods of the universe, and they're probably going to try and recruit him into, like, whatever follower thing that whatever, because, I mean, I'm sure if I gave in her teeth enough time last night, since I'm new, she would have tried to recruit me.
Yeah.
But I also slightly offended her by telling her that I didn't think she was real, so,
yeah.
So yeah, like, shrugs a lot. So it's the same thing with another friend of mine who has it on their wish list, which I'm like, I need to tell you that this game is a lot deeper than it looks like on the surface.
Can you play cross-platform?
No.
Yeah, of course not.
Yeah, it's PS4 people can only play with PS4, etc. But I personally play on PC. And anyone who happens to grab the game or whatever, I very highly recommend it because it's very good. And if you do play on Steam, you can add me, just contact me and I'll give you my Steam name. But, I do very highly recommend the game. And like I said, new players are the lifeblood of this game. And I want this game to do well and be good and grow and be as amazing as it possibly can, and for that we need new people. So definitely do grab the game if you have any interest in it, and if it sounds like it's something that's really cool. I very, very highly recommend it. But yeah, it's something that I've been spending a ton of time on, and I mean, when I get back to streaming again, I'm going to be playing Blackout Club, because it's been the only thing that I've been playing. Like, I haven't even gone back to Pokemon yet, and I will eventually, but, like, the Blackout Club is incredibly good. And I don't know, like I said, it's just something special about this attention to detail that, like, the enhanced horror team and the developers have made certain parts of our stories canon.
That's really cool.
Yeah, like, parts of the story that, like, we have told have become real and a part of the world.
That is really cool.
So we're influencing the story just as much as they're influencing us.
It's basically a D&D game.
Yes, it is essentially a D&D game where we're playing as a bunch of kids in this Stranger Things-esque town. It's really cool. And like I said, it mixes a lot of elements of, like, tabletop RPGs into this, like, stealth game, and it's really cool. And it's a lot of fun, and the community's great, and it's fun to play with people, even if you're not. And it's fun to even speculate. Like, so a really cool thing about the game is that, like, because the Discord usually is very good about popping up and being like, hey, so there's an encounter. I'm having an encounter right now with a god, like, whatever. This is who I'm talking to. And at that point, it becomes, like, very fun to be like, am I going to be someone that's talked to? Like, I sent out a light to this god the other day. Are they going to pop in and say something to me? What are they going to say? Are they going to, like, am I going to get my ass chewed out because I said something rude to someone, or, you know, whatever, like, or if they do happen to pop in, when are they going to pop in? Is it going to be like after I've said something completely and totally idiotic? Because the gods can listen to you for as long as they want to before they say hi. So you could be having a conversation with someone talking about something completely fucking stupid. I think that one of the encounters recently was everybody was talking about they were saying Blal Bart Blal Cop.
Oh god.
And they were, like, creating their own, like, weird language shit, and Laugh Last popped in and was like, Blal Blart Blal Cop. And they were like, oh, hi, Laugh Last. Like, they can pop in at any moment, and they can sit there and listen to you talk about some dumb fucking shit for as long as they want to before they say something. So it's like, when are they going to pop in? Are they going to pop in when I'm having a conversation about something completely and totally stupid?
So
you
my
know,
next question is, how do I get a job playing one of these gods? Because that sounds really fun.
it does sound incredibly fun. But yeah, and again, and I will, like, it's, oh my, I really want more people to play this game because it's incredible. But that's like the last thing I'm gonna say. If you want to play the game, definitely, like, pick it up. It's very fun. If you want to play with me, message me. I'll give you my Steam name, and we'll play Blackout Club together. And it's one of my favorite games right now. It might rival some of my favorite games of all time.
Wow.
And it is just this small little indie developed game with this small little development team that takes very careful and wonderful attention to detail. And I highly recommend it. 10 out of 10. But yeah, so that was the entirety of my hiatus, playing this, like, fucking cool game and, like, creating a character for it and making his story and trying to incorporate him as part of the world and making friends with people in the Discord that, you know, I mean, there's also a roleplay server, which I haven't joined yet, but I might eventually.
And then there's my hiatus, which was screaming into
Penis
the
fish.
void. Screaming into the void, and then stop screaming long enough to be like, oh, this is a funny article about dickfish.
Well, I was gonna ask, is there anything else that you did besides penis fish that happened during your break? Is there anything other
I don't
cool,
like the way
interesting
you
things?
said "did penis fish."
I mean, I worded exactly what I meant to say.
I know you did, you fucker. I know you enough. Oh yeah. I'm eventually once a bunch of things get figured out. My buddy Kat, that I think I've mentioned on the show before, she wants to start a true crime podcast with me. We already have our social media accounts and the name and everything. It's called What's in the Podcast with Kat and Jackster. It's basically just like a bunch of murder stories.
Yee.
So yeah. Oh, and like I said, I got into Small Town Murder, which is top tier. Highly recommend. And their other show, Crime and Sports, is also amazing. And you might actually like it because you don't have to like sports at all. And in fact, they sometimes encourage people who don't like sports and aren't into it to listen to it more, because like they've done a couple of stories on people and then heard back from fans going, oh man, I loved that dude when I was a kid and now it's just ruined for me. So like, and they don't go into stats, they don't go into any of that stuff. It's just they talk about a dude who is incredibly lucky to be doing something really fucking cool for a living, who then just blows it by being a huge douche nozzle. So like, it's like the first episode I listened to was about a fighter, DJ Penn, and there was a lot of stuff that I hadn't even heard of that he did, that they talked about in the episode, that I was like, holy shit. So yeah,
I mean, that's how it be sometimes.
Yeah, but it's so yeah, I'm super into them. Also, Last Podcast on the Left is another one.
Oh my god, Last Podcast on the Left is very good.
I couldn't remember when Kat was playing, like, told me about them. I couldn't remember which one of my friends told me about Last Podcast on the Left, and I thought it was either you or Jen, and I was like, I can't remember which one of them it was.
I mean, it was very possibly me, because Last Podcast on the Left is very good, but it also might have been Jen. It might have been both of us.
I've only heard bits and pieces of most of their episodes. Like, I heard bits and pieces of their Ed Gein episode. That was fucking hilarious. But like, in full, I've only listened to part 1 and part 2 of Chaos Magic, because since I've heard of Chaos Magic, if you don't think that's something I'm gonna get into, you're out of your fucking mind. Because I basically already, like, vibe with everything in it, and it's like, oh wait, so I could just bend the universe to my will and make it stop beating me senseless? That sounds good. So sign me the fuck up. So yeah, that's basically been my hiatus. A lot of crying.
That's fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, I've in between bits of like Blackout Club and Pokemon. I was also slightly still working on my other podcast, but you know, that'll eventually happen.
It better.
It'll eventually be a thing. I wanted to, like, I got to a point the other day where I was like, this is, you know, I'm ready to record, and then I never did.
Listen,
and
just like you talked me through writing the story for Halloween, when I was like freaking out, like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, just like you like talked me through that whole thing. I will talk you through this because you need to do this podcast.
I mean, like I said, I got to a point the other day where I'm like, I feel decent about this script. I think I'm ready to do the thing, and then I've just been scared to do it, because my problem is that it has taken me this long to like write the script for the first episode.
Yeah.
That I'm terrified of what's gonna happen for every episode after.
Yeah, no, dude, like, you are preaching to the converted, because how long ago did I post the last Mr. Sweetly?
Yeah, I know.
Like, how long ago is that? And I'm just like,
I can't, I just, this is a podcast, and I can't, like, record an episode and then it take, like...
Okay, so do what I should, well, no. I'm gonna backtrack for a second. I was gonna say do what I should have done, but it wasn't supposed to be a series. Do a thing to like save yourself a lot of grief. Write a couple of episodes ahead of time, so this way like you can catch up to yourself.
I mean, yeah, I guess.
Like, before you ever hit record, because if you do that, you run the risk of that happening with all of the chaos that is our lives.
Yeah. But
yes.
I think that's about it for this episode, honestly.
Yeah.
So yeah. before we go, I've got to remember the format for this because we haven't done this in a hot minute.
I was going to say, hey, bud, do you remember how to do the outro? Because I don't know if I remember.
We would like to give a huge thank you to our wonderful friends, Jen and Luke. Thank you so much for hosting our podcast on your website, fierceferrets.com. You can go find them if you want to watch them sometimes. They're on Twitch. You can find them at twitch.tv/fierceferrets.
Yay! You did it!
They're wonderful and very fun, and you can also find some of our other podcasts on their website as well, which include Last Light, which should be coming back in the new year, and Drunk Fandom, which will eventually be coming back. I've been saying that for over a year, so
there's plans, but then 2019 got in the way.
Yeah, we were gonna post it in the fall, get everything done, but then a lot of things happened and we haven't. But the plan is for it to come out hopefully winter. So, and that still lasts through next year, so we've got time. Okay. We have until like March before we have to be like, well, I'm still trying to get my episode recorded, but
Same.
Schedules have not lined up. But like I said, we'll get there eventually, and we'll get Drunk Fandom out to you guys. But in the meantime, if you want to listen to the last season and the last episodes of Last Light and Drunk Fandom, those are up on the website, and you can also find us on, the normal places to find podcasts like Apple Podcasts and that kind of thing.
Spotify.
Yep.
And for updates, you can follow us on social media. We are on Twitter and Instagram. Our handle's the same on both. It's at the COTV podcast. So yeah, follow us there for, like I said, updates or funny memes, or just come say hi. You can also, if you have ideas for episodes, drop us a line there, or you can do that in our Discord. We have a channel specifically dedicated to giving us suggestions for ideas, because there's only so much we can do. And the way to get into our Discord is through our Patreon, which you can also find on our Twitter page. It's in the pinned tweet. Patrons that are in the $5 and up tier get exclusive access to the Discord server, and other perks, such as having their name read at the end of every episode.
Speaking of, we'd like to give a huge thank you to our wonderful patrons. If I remember correctly, it is Gerda, Brandonson, Fierce Ferrets, and Austin 1000. So thank you all so much for your continued support. You keep the lights on over here and keep us going. And
on a personal note, I'm not gonna go into it much, but yeah, a personal special thank you to Austin 1000. We both know what you did. It was very, very I'm still blown away by your kindness, and just thank you so much for that. I'll never forget that.
But like I said, thank you so much. Yeah, you guys are wonderful, and we very much appreciate it. Did you say the part about the ideas? Because
yes, it did.
Yeah, because please send us ideas. Please, for the love of all that is holy and good in this universe, send us ideas.
Otherwise, you're gonna have to keep hearing us say things like penis fish.
Penis fish.
Penis fish.
Dildo party. Anyway.
There's a fish sticks joke somewhere in there.
But
are you mad at me? Is that why you got quiet?
no. I was thinking if there was anything else that we needed to say, but I think that's everything.
Okay.
I was going through the list in my head.
Okay. This is gonna be real fun when I finish up my solo episode this week.
But yes, so a big thank you to everyone. Thank you for continuing to listen, and we hope to see you continuing on into the new year. And yeah, so with that, it's everything. Thanks for listening, and until next time, play the Blackout Club, and also sweet dreams.